what a cancer that Iran is. And now I think everyone, I mean, look at the kind of garbage that's grieving that he's done. Like he's gone. I mean, like who's grieving? Who's grieving for this person? And a lot of them are the same people, that were in this protesting space, like Code Pink and other people that are showing up and they're protesting to hands off and defending Iran. It is absolutely part of the rot of a faction within the very left part of my party.
Fortunately, there's one Democrat who says the right things. That's Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. He joins us on the line right now. Senator Fetterman, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
It's great to be. Yes, I'm glad we finally connected.
Yeah, so Senator Fetterman, let's talk about the president's action in Iran. You have been forthright. You've been a clarion call inside your own party saying that Iran should never be allowed to achieve a nuclear weapon. They're developing ballistic missiles. They're spreading terrorism. All of that was true. So you've said, well, then the president's actions here are appropriate. What do you make of the president's actions? Why are so many people in your party critical of what the president is doing when it seems like that was the only road to actually achieve the goal of disarming the Iranian government?
The only thing I can figure out is that it came from Trump. Honestly, I mean, I just refuse to just accept the fact that one of the most evil leaders in recorded recent history, I mean, he's dead. I mean, and another 48 other ones were killed in that one day. Why can't we just say that's great for a lot of different reasons? And it's like, I'm so tired of people hiding behind the line of like, well, we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb or these kinds of specific kinds of missiles. Well, then what about? Is it just more tweet about it? More harsh language, or are you really just to say, hey, something's been done and it actually achieved those things? Why can't you say, yes, that's the right thing, for Israel? It's the right thing for the region, the world order. And also it's for me, that's American first in the sense that, it's a fight for civilization. And now it's like the why we're going to stand with Israel. And that's our values. And for me, that's democracy. I really truly don't understand why they can't just acknowledge that the world is more safe after those actions taken.
Senator Fetterman, you've been incredibly consistent with regard to support for America, for Israel and its fight against Islamic terrorism over the course of the last several years. Obviously, for some reason, this has become a divisive issue. There's some on the right who are dividing. There are a lot on the left who have been taking the opposite position. What do you think the trend line is inside the Democratic Party with regard to Israel and with regard to Middle Eastern policy from the United States? Are you confident that the Democratic Party will move in a better direction in the near future when it comes to defending America's interests in the Middle East with the muscularity necessary to actually achieve victory?
No, unfortunately, actually, it's just going to it's worse. I mean, I just read an article in Politico that described the situation in the Illinois Democrat primary. And now they're even drilling down on obscure things that someone visited Israel like 6 or 7 years ago. You have to explain that. You have like just, I've already assumed that it's going to get more and more divisive and it's going to become more of like a purity test or this kind of like this weird thing. For me, it often becomes a lot of anti-Semitism at its root. Otherwise, where if you have to be in a primary asked to defend just visiting Israel back in like I think it was 2019, why is that even an issue? Why is it a problem? But now if you've done that, then you must mean you support genocide and describe Israel as a genocide thing. That's really becoming the essence of a lot of these primaries, whether it's in Maine or whether it's here in Illinois and across the Democratic Party. I sadly assume that's going to continue to move more and more towards that. And they have mainstreamed this idea that Israel, engaged in genocide. And now people, that are part of that part of the party are now announcing in Germany that Israel is, you talk about genocide sitting in Germany for that. So I think that's going to continue to intensify.
Senator Fetterman, given that sort of backdrop, looking forward to 2028, obviously you're a Democrat. Presumably you'd like to see a Democrat take the White House. When you look at the Democratic field, you mentioned by proxy there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who may run for president. She, of course, is the person who is in Germany, suggesting that Israel had committed a genocide. Do you see the possibility of a moderate Democrat taking the nomination in 2028, given the fact that there is this sort of animus that has arisen on the part of many in the base for Israel and for American interests in the region?
I really don't have any thoughts on 2028 in that sense. I mean, that's a long way out, and things always going to change, and you just never know. I mean, the last past presidents came from nowhere, or you assume that's not going to be the case. So for me, I don't really have any thoughts, but I will can't assume that it's going to get more and more anti-Israel in the Democratic Party, and really the spirit of where the party's at in the primaries, like in the Senate, in a lot of the House races now. And if you check any of them, it becomes more and more a purity test, and it's described as genocide or some kinds of other absurd things. So, that's where we're at. I mean, that's a fact. Find a primary, it's really hard. I can't think to find anyone that's proudly to stand with Israel. I had AIPAC visit my office just last week, and I'm like, hey, here's a picture. Here I'm at. I'm like, I just put that out if somebody wants to judge me because I'm going to support Israel through all of these things. It's like, okay, but that's where I'm at. And just watch how other people in my party are back away, or in fact, some try to have it both ways. Well, we can't ever have them acquire a nuclear bomb. I really won't back any doing anything about it, but that's really the empty kind of rhetoric.
And Senator Fetterman, you've been briefed, obviously, by members of the Trump administration on the Hill about the ongoing action in Iran. How do you think it's going so far? What's your sort of takeaway from the efficacy of the U.S. Israeli operation?
I think it's been outstanding. When you can wipe out almost 50 of the leadership in just really one hit, that's tremendous. And really what's happening at this point, it's just a bunch of cheap drones, just they're flailing and just firing it around. They threaten to sink our ships now, like we've just, annihilated. I wouldn't even describe what Iran has as a navy, but most of them are at the bottom of the Persian Gulf right now too, as they should. So it's when is Iran going to shoot their shot? Because it seems like they never really had a shot to shoot. At this point, it's just flailing. And I can't understand what they think the upside is to attack a lot of the other Arab nations in the region. It's just going to continue to isolate Iran. And I could even see that could be a silver lining, that could make the Abraham Accords more likely, or just realizing that what a cancer that Iran is. And now I think everyone, I mean, look at the kind of garbage that's grieving that he's done. Like he's gone. I mean, like who's grieving? Who's grieving for this person? And a lot of them are the same people, that were in this protesting space, like Code Pink and other people that are showing up and they're protesting to hands off and defending Iran. It is absolutely part of the rot of a faction within the very left part of my party.
Well, that is Senator John Fetterman. Senator Fetterman, you'll be pleased to know that actually the breaking news as of this morning was that the Israeli Air Force, the IDF, had struck 88 council members at the Assembly of Experts. They were choosing Ayatollah Khamenei's successor. And breaking news this morning is that Israel bombed that gathering while the votes were being taken. And things are going poorly for the Iranian government at this point. Again, extraordinary transparency into what's going on in Iran from both Mossad and from the CIA and from all the intelligence apparatus. Pretty astonishing stuff. Senator Fetterman, thanks so much for your time and your bravery in standing up in favor of Western civilization.
Thank you. And the Israeli intelligence is just incredible, incredible. And so I'm proud to stand with Israel through this. And now just because it comes from a Republican president, it's like, why can't we just acknowledge that the world is better and safer and more just? What's happened now in Iran. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Fetterman.
If you have a 401k or an IRA, please listen. Gold is at record highs. What many people don't know is this: you can move part of your retirement money legally and without tax penalties into physical gold you actually own. Alpha Omega Gold helps you do this through a gold IRA. Your gold is real. It is stored safely. It is in your name. Learn more at ao.gold/stand. Alpha Omega Gold is our sponsor, and they proudly stand with Israel.